Like, so professional. Here we go. Welcome to the Live Support Podcast with your hosts, Michele and June and June Colson, a couple of clean comedians who support each other and others through comedy's wacky and winding roads. I hope you're ready. Get set. Let's go. Since podcasts have a catchy tune, we wrote this song for Michele and June. Clean comedians are best friends too. Oh, it's so good. And you never know what they'll say or do. Here we go, sing with me on Live Support, with Michele, who's really short. We'll have a ball, with June, who's really tall. They have fun, interviewing comedians on Live Support, with Michele, who's really short. Now it's time to start Live Support.
The Live Support Podcast is brought to you by the Hot Breath Comedy Network.
Wow, give yourself a round of applause.
Michele, I can't do this today. Support podcast.
Hello,
Comedy Network, the award-winning podcast. I am June Colson here with my co-host Michele the Narwhal. Jeez Louise, people. If you're listening to this podcast, this is going to be the one that you have to go watch. Go watch it on, the Creative Motion Network. Because right now, Michele, what is happening to your face? What is on your face right now?
Okay, so I am wearing a cream lighten up skin made in Korea Narwhal mask because our guest today is like she's like super pretty and super girly and like you know, and I thought I better get prepared and try to make myself look better than I ever have before, and I think I'm crushing it right now.
Can I just say that had you not shown me the box, I would have not known it was. Is it Narwhal or Narwhal?
Narwhal, and I was trying to work on my Narwhal noises, and I don't know what that. I don't know how to do it. I know that they spit water.
Just try.
I can't. So this is all you're getting.
If you were a real one, what noise would you make, Michele?
Help me, I'm drowning.
That's not a noise. That's a statement. Let's just say statement. You're right.
That means I'd be.
I'm struggling so much with looking at your face right now. But that's okay. That's okay. So our guest today, listen, I have to tell you. Okay, first of all, this morning, guess where I've been?
I'm guessing you went shopping because that's what you do.
I don't shop. I'm not so I'm not a shopper, like a fancy shopper. I'm a like Dollar Tree
that's shopping,
that type of thing. But today, Michele, I went to the book fair. I went to the book fair this morning at the elementary school that I used to work at. Yes. And I went and visited my friends and I got to shop with a little friend who didn't have a shopper to be with her. And it was amazing and it was awesome. And look at the book I got. You got to see the book I got.
Okay.
I love it because you're in a disguise today. This is the book I bought, right? I got it. It was on clearance, of course. I spent $5 whole, which is a lot for me. And it's a book with it's dogs in disguises. It makes me so happy.
Oh, great. I hope you don't show that to your dog, because you know what's going to happen is Radar is now going to be dressed up in a bunch of outfits. That's what's going to happen. You're going to start dressing up Radar.
Radar. His name is Raider.
Radar.
Radar, which I know today you're not going to mess up the name of our guest because you're going to get it right. But here's the cutest part. Right. I'm checking out, right? And the librarian lady, she's got an assistant, and she goes, "Oh, that's so cute. Who are you getting that for?" And I'm like, "Me? It's dogs and costumes. It's for me. Like, who else would I buy this book for? Don't judge me. Okay, so we have an amazing guest today, and I told you I had to tell you something that happened at the book fair.
Yes, what happened?
I'm leaving, and I see a 5th grade teacher, and what is she wearing on her head? What is she wearing on her head?
A hat?
One of these. What?
Ooh.
Seriously. And I was like, Miss Glass, what is this? And she goes, "Oh, I've crowned all the 5th graders at school." Like all the 5th graders in her, in her wing of the building, every 5th grader she has given look, I am a crooked crown kind of gal. She has given every one of those students a crown. And on Friday, they all come to school And I look in, and her classroom is filled with children wearing crowns and tiaras.
Okay, because I was like, does she know the difference between a crown and tiara? We'll have to ask our guest today about that, because there is a huge difference.
There is. Isn't that awesome, though? So Miss Glass, shout out to Miss Glass at Bristol Elementary for doing something absolutely amazing. And I know our guest today totally is going to appreciate that. So Michele with one L, tell us who's on the show today.
Okay, so Sally Baucke is a professional comedian, motivational speaker. She's an author, a nurse. She has engaged thousands of people over the stage over the last 2 decades. She's got women of all ages. She encourages them. She's entertained them, and people are inspired by Sally's unique humor and transparent heart. And she brings authentic hope. So she's been taking hope and humor to the next level. So let's welcome Funny Gal Sal, Sally Baucke to the Laugh Support Podcast.
You guys get started. I'll be back.
Okay. And she'll be, whoa. Sally.
Hello.
You look fantastic today.
You've come to the Royal Kennel, I guess. I don't know.
So are you a tiger, a tigress?
I am.
Right? Is that your mask?
Yeah, that is it. And you know what? I actually use these, and I was with my mom on vacation last year, and the housekeeper, came in to change the sheets in the hotel, and I just answered the door like this, and I scared her to death. It was in Mexico, and she was not sure what was happening. Oh, I hope that's not what your skincare is doing to you, June, because that's a problem.
Okay, so Sally sent mask, and I was like, wait, I didn't get a mask, but she thought that Michele and I were together. So I'm like, look, it's okay. I'm good. I could do this too.
Yes, you have masks. You have a tiara. Really, what else do you need?
Oh, I need a tiara. Here we go. I got
there
this.
You go. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I have crown. So many. I could do this. Michele's got the crowns. I have the mask.
And I was kind of jealous of your crown, so I have a bigger one. I'm just going to slap that on there.
Ooh.
That's the only one I wear on stage.
Man, is there a thing called? Is there crown envy? Can you have crown envy? Because I kind of
I do. I have. Yes. Yeah. So I have. Yeah, that one's kind of big, but I'll just put on this more demure. This is my skincare mask that I use my tiara for skincare. So I have one for every occasion. I have backyard barbecue tiaras. I have door answering tiaras because I just buy everything on Amazon because I don't leave the house very much anymore. I got kind of I became an introvert during COVID. It was terrible. I mean, I love to go out, but now I just was like, just bring it to me.
I have door answering robes.
Yeah, so that works too. But if you wear a tiara, they're kind of dazzled by that. They don't look at the rest. That's what it's really more of a distraction tool is what I use.
Oh my goodness! Can I tell you what? So one time I had we were going to the fireman's ball, and this is my skincare regimen.
I'm sorry. Wait, before you finish that story, June, I just have to say for our listeners, if you're not watching this one, June has tried on 15 different masks. She started off with a green Frankenstein mask. Maybe I'm not quite sure.
That was the Hulk. The Hulk.
The Hulk, and then went into just like a Batman or Catwoman mask.
No,
and
now that was
and then Darth Vader. Darth Vader.
What is a little scary to me is that she just has those right by
masquerade, a masquerade mask. Yeah, and now she's wearing a crooked nose mask thingy.
It's a robber. I'm a bank robber.
That's a bank robber. I was going to say it looked more like you're the lady from the Disney movie where she has the apple, the witch that has the apple. That's what you look like. Yeah. That's what I thought you were.
Michele, I think that I don't know, what are we, 37 episodes, 39 episodes in, and you've been waiting for 39 episodes to have an excuse to call me a witch. So congratulations, you got there.
I'm got back out. This is a nice program.
Oh my goodness. Well, what I was going to say is you said the distraction of your crowns on your, so when we go to the fireman's ball, I would just order random dresses $30 or less online. And then I would try them on and then I would send back and I would just pick the cheapest, prettiest dress I could find. And I came home from school with my son one day and it was in our driveway, just a JCPenney bag with a ball gown in it. And I ran in, I put on the gown. And the next thing I know, somebody's knocking on our door and there's glass all the way around. And I look and it was Jehovah's Witnesses. And I heard my son go, don't, Mom, no, don't open that door. And I go, but I have to. And so
you have to.
It was
You
a
have to do
Tuesday. It was a Tuesday afternoon, 3:00. I'm wearing a ball gown and tennis shoes. And they're like, hey, do you know about Jesus? And I was like, I sure do. And, and so I had this like 2-second conversation. I'm like, seriously, guys, I got to go. And they were like, well, where are you going? Meaning the ball gown. And I go, oh, I got a chiropractor's appointment. And I shut the door and left. And my son was like dying in the floor. So, ball gowns, tiaras, it's all good. It's all good. Okay. So enough of the distractions.
Yes.
Funny Gal Sal. Listen. Okay. So you're with Michele and I on Laugh Support.
Yeah.
And basically we just kind of reach out and we talk to comedians about their journey. Michele has been my laugh support friend since literally day one of my journey into comedy.
Aww.
And we were kind of curious who has been there for you along the way from the beginning, middle, now, whoever you want to share.
Well, first of all, can I just take this off my face for a second? Because this is part of my journey, is taking off my mask. Literally and figuratively, because I had done comedy just very part-time while I was working as a nurse, raising my children, which was always my primary. I mean, I consider myself a stay-at-home mom, but I would work as a nurse a couple evenings a week. And then I taught singing. I was always really, because we didn't have family in town. So we were always around our family, and I got to straighten my crown, it's a daily thing.
I feel like we have to unmask as well. So.
Yeah. So
I'm
when
going to mine dries a little more.
I was going to do comedy, and I did a few things, and I happened on comedy. I never set out to be a comedian ever. So they were having a chili comedy night at my church. And this has been probably 25 years ago. And I had been working at the pediatrician's office, and my husband was with the kids, as he always was, and in the evening. So I went over to this chili comedy night. I didn't plan on anything. And there was like 350 people there. And I walk in the back, and the guy who was emceeing says, oh, come on down. You're funny. Do something. And I was like, what are you talking about? I just got up. I was tired. I asked for a stool. I said, can I sit down during the stand-up? Because I'm tired. And we just found this footage the other day. It's so funny. And I just talked for 20 minutes off the top of my head about my husband, the doctors I work for, and my kids. And I got hired the next day. So I happened into comedy. I didn't have any kind of a path. I didn't know it. So I started doing a few things, started getting paid like literally the next day, like just doing some things. Then I did a lot of other, events that were just like, oh yeah, I'll come and, to talk to your ladies about this or that. So it kind of then snowballed to be around 2008-ish. I did an event. Kathy Tricoli was at it. It was at our church, and I emceed it, and I did comedy. And she said, you really ought to be doing this professionally. I mean, and I said, well, I don't know how to do any of that. And so I happened to meet a guy who was a comedian at a local comedy club. I had just gone to watch it, and he said, have you ever heard of the CCA? I don't think he's part of it anymore, but I know his parents were comedians back in the 80s. I said no, and so I looked it up, and then I called, and it was David Pendleton was the person I called, and I said, oh, David Pendleton, I tell him who I am, and I said, I really need some fellowship. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to be a clean woman comedian when I'm really just mostly making peanut butter and jelly and giving, and weighing children, and I'm working right now, and anyway, so I said, can I come to your retreat? And at that time, this retreat that they were planning was just for like veterans, people who'd been doing it a long time. They were road warriors, which I was not, but I was like, oh, I want to go. Can I go? And I just sobbed. The poor man. He to this day, I always tell him, if I text him, I need to talk to you. No crying included. I just wanted fellowship. I just felt really alone. If you don't know that you have this, and I had known it back at the very beginning. Actually, I was offered to go on tour. I never tell this story. I just really told it the other day to somebody. I had sent some of my stuff because I looked at the back of a DVD of someone who was doing comedy at the time. And I talked to their manager, sent him material. And he said, yeah, you're very funny. We'd like to have you come get enough stuff together for a 2-hour show, and we'll go. And my youngest at the time was 3.5, and he had just been diagnosed with a severe language delay. And I was like so excited, but then I thought, I can't leave. Like, I can't go. Like, this isn't the right time for me. And so I didn't do it. And so all these years later, I feel like once I became an empty nester, and by the way, to the glory of God, he just graduated with a master's degree. And amazing. But you know what? It took so much intensive therapy and special schools and all the special needs things that he did. He was on IEP till he went almost to high school. So there's a lot of things about comedy to me were timing, but David Pendleton was my sounding board. And then as I got into it more later, Ken Davis was somebody I met because I had done a show where he was supposed to be the one to do it, but they took a chance on me and I did it. And then he flew in the next day to do something else. And I sat with him, and he was kind of been an informal mentor all these years for me. And so, yeah, I just have had people who I think are great. And I remember watching Ken Davis the first time I saw him at a CCA event, and he spoke. And I know you guys have seen him, but you could hear a pin drop. Okay. And that's saying a lot in front of a room of comics who are always little conversations going. But I remember sitting in the back of that room, just tears on my cheeks, because I thought, Lord, this is the man who's been encouraging me and giving me guidance. And I didn't even know he was like this. I didn't know how great he was. And I thought if I could have picked any mentor, he would be the one that I would have picked. And I didn't even know God picked him for me. So it's just been a journey of hit or miss, and sometimes very lonely. Now that I tour with Aspire Women's events, I love that. And I've met people. Michelle was probably the very first person I met at a CCA.
I'm so sorry.
Remember out in LA? And then
I remember.
Well, I didn't know anybody at all. I didn't know anybody in the CCA. I didn't know any comics. And I was out there. I did my little showcase. You know, you get your little 3 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever. And then Michael Jr. was my watcher, you know, and he was being really complimentary afterwards and stuff. And I said, "Oh, thanks, Carl Jr." Because I had just driven through Carl Jr.'s hamburgers to get there. And I didn't know who he was. And I said, "Carl Jr." And you were standing outside the building. And I said, "Yeah, Carl Jr. really liked it." They go, "Who?" I go, that guy in there just, you know, gave me all these nice comments." And they go, "That's not Carl Jr. That's a hamburger joint." I was like, "Oh my gosh." I apologized to him like 6 years later, and he just acted like, you know, Michael Jr. Yeah, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
He probably didn't know who I was. I don't know. He probably still, I don't care. I was just mortified. But yeah, I didn't know any of it. It was just been a matter of, that's why I take off my mask, because I went to that event feeling like I should be this, and this. And for many years, I thought I should be like a club comic. I should be like this. I should be like that. When really I'm most successful when I take off my mask, like I did that night at that Chili Comedy Night, and I just talk about my life and with the way God has wired me, which is a little different. And I feel like I bring the most glory to the Lord when I am just who he created me to be and nobody else. That's why. And I love skincare. So those two things.
Now you do have, I know that you love like making up words and things like that, but it's also part of your creativity. But this word here, can you explain this one a little bit? The inspireomedy?
Inspireomedy, which, by the way, I think a lot of people just don't understand it. The first person I presented that to said, no one will ever know what you're talking about. So I abandoned that word for a long time. But I think of comedy, of course, omedy is the comedy part. And then I think of inspireomedy. So like as a nurse, when we work in the hospital, especially like ICU, very ill patients, we have them breathe into an inspirometer. We have them see what their capacity is, see how much basically life they have in them, in their lungs. And we breathe in, and I think of comedy is so inspiring to me. It can be inspiring. I set out a mission statement a long time ago, girls, and because comedy just for the sake of comedy just leaves me dry. I don't care about that part. What I care about is using comedy to get a message in. Just like as a nurse, we use, like if we're going to do a spinal tap or something, we have to numb the area, but to get the very valuable part out, we have to make it more palatable. And that's what I feel like comedy is for me. It's a tool to use to get something inspiring into my audience and to make them not, and to numb them a little bit with laughter and, relatableness, so that they feel like I am just like them, because I am no different than anybody else. And I love the power that comedy has to help us get hard truths into people's hearts. That's what it's about to me.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Now, June, I know you probably have something rolling around in your head. Like I know you want to ask a question.
There's a couple of things. I'm going to look up a quote the next time you guys are going back and forth. But Sally, when you said I didn't know anybody at the CCA, I think that's, just to shift on to our friend Michele for a minute. We've had, several interviews at this point, and there have been so many people who were like, I went to the CCA and I didn't know anybody, and I met Michele and I met Michele and I met Michele. And that's how this relationship started is, literally, if Michele is at the CCA, there's no one who can say, I don't know anyone at the CCA. Right. Because if you know no one, you will know Michele.
Yes. Yes,
because
I feel welcome wagon. That's all she is. Yes. She just comes in, but she makes you feel so at home. She'll show you what you need. She introduces you to people, and I'm not good at that. Like I'm not a good networker. I am with my friends here. I mean, I have a ton of friends and my neighbors and my, just people. But when it comes to just bringing somebody in and making them feel instantly networked and all that, Michele, she's the queen. You're so good at it. And I love that. And we need you. We need people like you in there just to really help people feel at ease. Because I was not. I was like, what am I even doing here?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But I see myself more as the door blocker. Like, I'm like, okay, do you belong here? Okay. Oh, you do. Okay. You know what? You need to be at that table over there. Wait, who are you? Okay. You need to be over there. Like,
well, but that's the thing though, is that you make everybody feel like they do belong. I was telling her the other day, Sally, that we were talking about an event and stuff, and how the first time I met you were doing a show with Michele in Bardstown, and we had lunch together.
Yeah.
Before the show that night, I had never been on stage before. I was just trying to figure things out. And Michelle's like, come on over. You're welcome to come. And not only did she invite me to come watch the show with you guys, she invited me to come have fellowship, to eat, have dinner, And then there were a bunch of comedians who got the time frame wrong. And so it was just myself and you and Michele and the pastor. And I got to just have a conversation with you. And I told her the thing I remembered about you is that there really wasn't a lot of comedy talk. No. I remember you talking about being a nurse, and I remember you talking about your family and some things you were going through at the time. And I felt like I just connected with a human being, not a comedian. Aww. At that dinner table, and I thought that was really special. And then Michele says to me, oh, hey, I'll give you 3 minutes if you want to hop up there and do a little something.
Aw.
And I was like, I don't want to do anything. I've never done anything. I don't want to do and she was like, no, you can do it. And I was like, no, I don't want to do it. And then, she didn't push. There was no pressure. But I told her, I said, a lot of comedians, especially shows, if you're organizing a show, you want it to be great. You want it to be amazing. You want the best of the best. You want to look good. You want everybody to have a good time. And most people are not going to go, hey, you who's never done comedy, go ahead. Like, she gives people opportunities. Like, she steps outside of that and cares not so much about how she looks, but how she can include people in things. And that's so huge, and that you said that there was a time period that you didn't have people, right? And then now you do have people. The difference, for people who are, really starting out and kind of in that moment, when you talk about inspiring, is there something maybe that you could share about that transition and journey and what it was like and how important it is if you can find that tribe to be around other people to lift you up?
Oh gosh. Well, I think that's a two-part question for me, because one thing is, I would always say, no matter how much comedy you do, how professional you get. I don't even like the word big, because how big you get, because in the kingdom, everybody is big, right? We all have our part to play, no matter how many gigs we're doing or how many people are there, what you get paid or not get paid. If you're doing that for the Lord, it's all big. So in that case, I would say, no matter how you do, keep your tribe, your people who keep you grounded no matter what. So in terms of that, I mean, I have my comedy peeps, but I have all my non-comedy peeps, and I still keep those people, those circles next to me to help me always stay grounded, because I think the world of comedy, as you girls know, it can be like a labyrinth of people, especially when you're with other ones. It gets comparative sometimes, and when we begin to compare ourselves is when we begin losing. Okay, so then and the enemy wins, because I don't want to compare myself. And I spent a lot of time doing that. And even recently I've had some moments like that. So I think having the comedy peeps around you who are going to encourage you to be you and encourage you to follow God's path for you. And here's the biggest thing. And again, Ken Davis, I go back to him. The biggest thing he told me, and that has stuck with me early on, he said, Sally, stop thinking about what people will think of you. Think of what you are going to give to them. And that's all. That's your job. And that means your audience, your fellow people. I didn't work with other people for the longest time. I didn't ever work with other comics. That was just me. I did my whole hour or whatever. But it was, what can I give to when you shift the thought from, will people think I'm funny? Will people think I'm funny enough to be up here? Because what is funny enough? It's so subjective. There's no line in the sand. What does that mean? I mean, I do a lot of women's shows. My demographic are 30 to 80 year olds or 30 to 100. And they think I'm hilarious, but I'm sure there's plenty of men or, younger people who will be like, yeah, let's get a funny one on here, but I was a singer for years before. And that's the same thing. Some people love Celine Dion. Look how, big she is, inarguably, but I don't care to listen to her. So there's some people that it's just subjective. That's why you have to know what the Lord's path is for you, and keep the comedy people around you who help keep you grounded to that message, not just about the haha funny. I mean, you want to learn from people. There's people to learn from. And I love to, I toured with Leland Clausen just on a weekend last year for Marriage Date Night. And I love watching him. He's so brilliant. And I love watching other comics who I just can learn things from. But when it comes to my mission, I have to stay true to what God's called me to do. So
I love that.
Now, I'm just curious, do you think that that's kind of when people say at the very beginning when you're starting out, like, oh, you got to find your voice, as a comedian? Do you feel like that's almost kind of the same thing about staying true to your mission? You found your voice in that process, because you said that you take off the mask to help people kind of to go a level deeper in their life. And so is your voice part of that mission? I'm like your comedy voice, is it, I don't know what my question is now.
That's all right. I don't know. I think that's a great question. Actually. And by the way, I didn't say this. Thank you, June, for that. Those comments about that conversation, because I really, and I tell even my comedy friends this, I care about my relationships more than I care about my comedy career. Okay. And that's the thing that I thought when I would be leaving my son and I had 2 other children too, that were young, young. And I wasn't going to leave. And I thought, I'm not willing to sacrifice my family or my relationships on the altar of a comedy career. That wasn't worth it to me. And I think in that way, I'm not willing to sacrifice who I am for a comedy career either. In fact, some of the earlier comedy conferences that I've been to, speakers would get up and say, you need to do it like this, set, punch, tag, like this. This is how you have to do it. And so I left that the whole next year trying to format my comedy that way. And I was categorically unfunny after doing that. I mean, literally, where I would normally get laughs just telling a story. And if you really look at the biggest, earners, if you will, in our field, especially in women, we're storytellers, right? We tell stories that are funny, and it doesn't fall into that set, punch, tag, callback. I mean, I know there's names for all of it. I just call it, I see the world differently. One time backstage, somebody who was big in Women of Faith said to me, Sally, when I listen to you, it's just like you're saying things that I'm thinking, but yours has come out like it's in a tornado.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I went, thank you. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. I don't know if should I go out there or should I just leave and go home? It was just, I think we have to say, okay, this is how the Lord made me. Mm-hmm. And I've also heard people say, oh, you need to be at every single open mic there is, or you're not serious about comedy. Yeah. I've heard that from someone's mouth. And I went, how would that work when I'm doing homework with my 10-year-old going, oh, you know what? You know, algebra's tough, but mommy's got an open mic to do. Like you guys, handle this. I mean, it's not a real life proposition for most people, especially women, I find. Yeah. You're going to really take care of the important things first. And it's always your family. It's always your family. So I guess in the end, I think really taking those really good, there's very good comedy suggestions and things to look at. But in the end, you have to run it through the mill of how did God make me uniquely? What are the experiences I've had that make me unique? What has life thrown my way, my curves? And I've had 5 orthopedic surgeries in the last 3 years. I have terrible arthritis and I've had 2 injuries. And I was on tour and I broke my arm. So I use those things that have happened to me as part of my story now. And those things work and they resonate. So I just take what God has allowed to happen to me or has blessed me with, all the different things. And then I use that to make a story that hopefully other people will relate to too, and find not only humor, but then some encouragement out of it too.
Mm. Well, I tell you, we interviewed Leslie Robb, sweet Leslie Robb. She said she's never been in the same space with you. I don't think you guys have ever physically met each other.
One time. Have you? Okay. Because she came to an Aspire show, but she left at intermission. So she thought I stunk.
But I tell you, when we interviewed her, you were the name that she brought up. Exactly what you're saying is feeling like you spoke a word into her heart that said, it's okay, Leslie, to just be you and do it the way God made you to do it. And don't worry about all of the rest, and she said that literally was such a freeing statement. And so if you haven't heard that episode, you'll have to go back in season 1, listen to Leslie Robb, because she had some amazing, wonderful things, which basically shows, exactly what you were talking about. Man, I don't know how 30 minutes have already passed. Michelle, this is crazy. We want to keep you for 4 more days. Listen,
are we
folks,
over? Is it done? I can't. I know how 30 minutes passed. My husband could tell you. She'll talk.
Oh, listen, we love it. We love it. We love having you on here, which just means that we need to have you again. And then maybe I'll have I'll have the mask on then. But listen, friends, you have got to check out and follow Funny Gal Sal on all social media. And then she has a book. What am I looking at here? What Didn't Kill Me Made Me Funny. And it's got
Strongers crossed
knocked out there. And what didn't kill me made me funny. Not just it should say hilarious. I've heard so many amazing things about you. And I will tell you, I found the quote. I'm taking away from this the whole idea of the numbing. When you said we numb them to get in deeper. And I'm glad that I looked it up, because I was going to tell you that Abraham Lincoln said this, but also, Michael Jr.'s Carl Jr., who cares? But it was the author, Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde said, if you want to tell people the truth, make them laugh. Otherwise, they'll kill you. So that was his quote in the 1800s. So his was on a different perspective, but I get it, right? Sometimes when we got to tell people the truth, we just make them laugh. And y'all, the truth is that Funny Gal Sal is a rock star. You need to find her anywhere that you can. Like I said, definitely follow her on all the social media platforms. You got to watch this episode for sure, so you can see exactly all the shenanigans that were going on. The Life Support Podcast is on YouTube and the Creative Motion Network on Roku and Vimeo. Is it Vimeo. Michelle? There it is. Vimeo. All right. And you can listen to us on any of the places that you listen to your podcast. So y'all, that's going to be it for this amazing episode of the Laugh Support Podcast. Funny Gal Sal, thanks for being with us. As always, y'all, Jesus and Junebug loves you. And Michelle, you little princess.
I know. I love you rocking that. That's very much a Queen Victoria. That's what she wore.
I think you just knight them or crown them or do whatever you do with your little scepter. And let's get out of here, my friend.
Love you.
I want to say thanks for listening. We love you. Love you, Sally. Funny Gal Sal. Make sure you tune into her June, I love you. Listeners, I love you. Make sure you tune in and follow all of our socials. See you next time. Bye-bye.